Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Based on a True Story. My name is Matt.
Hi, everyone. I'm Karen.
Greetings. I am Blake Smith.
All right. And what movie are we going to be looking at today?
The Birds.
The 1989 Tom
What?
Hanks. Yeah.
Burbs.
True
No.
story about Tom Hanks.
No.
I
no,
watched
wrong
the wrong
movie.
movie.
I
watched.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I watched this one.
Oh,
For the Birds, isn't that?
Yeah.
Is that a true story?
Yes, I've seen it play out in real
Probably.
life.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
I tried to get my son to let me borrow his Angry Birds t-shirt, but he wouldn't give it to me.
Oh. Yeah.
No, we are talking
That's
about
the one.
Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds.
And I'm surprised we're doing this one because I didn't know that there was a true story behind this. So
yeah,
I was really excited to hear that. And this was my first viewing of the movie as well. I've never seen it before, nor had Matt.
Yeah, allegedly masterpiece.
I am in the same boat.
Like Tippi Hedren, which was her little boat was a tippy canoe.
Yes.
That's a good joke for the historians in the audience.
That was very good. I do want to bring up one thing right off the bat.
Not bats.
Okay.
Yeah, no bats.
Right off the birds, I want to bring up to like and subscribe this video if you enjoy this kind of content. And, patreon.com/Monster Talk if you want to help us actually continue to do this. Because
we appreciate your support. It is. Yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, so the Birds, Matt, do you want to give us a little, I guess, a potted plot of the movie?
Well, basically what happens is somebody somewhere pisses off a bird, and the next thing we know, we got this going on.
Crows.
Well,
yeah, that's when it got named a murder of crows, because it used to just be a flock, and then this happened. So
in this movie, for sure,
murder of crows now.
But I will say about the plot that it's interesting that it seems like almost half the movie, about 50-something minutes into the movie, we're still talking about the kind of quirky romance between the two main couple, the main couple.
Chicks, and then it's about birds. Right? That's
right.
Yeah.
Right.
With an old biddy or two as well.
Yeah. A few old birds thrown in.
Jessica Tandy was looking pretty good. I'll be honest. It's a sign that I'm getting old. I'm like, Jessica.
Oh, I think she was they're all very stylish in this. But I think that I was surprised that Rod Taylor, that was her son and the little girl was her daughter, because I thought she was the grandmother at first, which was a harsh judgment. But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting all these black things coming up, Matt.
They're birds.
That's probably what it is.
Yeah.
Did you no, Rod Taylor, he's Australian apparently.
He is, and it's so strange. But when we started watching it, I said to Matt, he looks Australian.
Yeah, we based that opinion on his chin.
Well, he had a bit of a kind of Mel Gibson thing going.
Yeah, he had the chin and the forehead and brow of Australians.
As a linguist, I think
all Australians.
As a linguist, I think I could hear a slight accent still. But yeah, he's interesting. He had a very successful career in the United States, and but he made his start in Australia. Did a lot of acting there first.
Yeah, it's interesting because in the movie, and we'll go back and talk about the plot a little bit, but in the movie, one person blames her for the birds appearing, but she seems to blame him. So
and something's blocking out the top there. So
there, how's that?
Yeah,
Karen Carpenter.
Yes.
Have you seen The Mist or read The Mist?
Yes. Yeah.
Matt
it was the same.
About that.
Yeah, it was the same woman.
It's the same, certainly the same vibe. I don't know if it's literally, So I mean, it's the
the hysterical
they
thing
do
going
this
on.
in Twilight Zones, you know, where it's the monsters are doing Maple Street. Everybody starts to turn against each other, but it was a good moment in the film.
It
Yeah,
was.
that diner scene. But did you catch the cameo from Hitchcock at the start of the film?
I did.
It's unmistakable, his figure. When he comes out of the pet store with those are his real dogs too, apparently.
Were they really?
Were.
Okay.
Yeah.
They probably are dead now.
Long since left us. Yeah. Him too.
Yes.
I think I've just got an update from our science advisor, and apparently all those birds are dead too. So,
even the mechanical ones.
This movie was cursed.
It's pronounced cow, but yeah.
Yeah. So I thought it was a real slow burn the way that the movie started, and I think I mean, of course, you know the premise to some extent going into it because it's called The Birds, but certainly it just seems to be about this really strange relationship that they have, and I didn't know if it really flies too well, the script, just the way they
Gotcha.
I didn't actually mean that, but mean a pun. Blake's a bad influence.
No, Blake's angry now because he's like, I was saving
No, my kid, we just finished watching it as a family, or 3/5 of a family. And my kids at the end were like, well, that was not a very satisfying ending. We don't know why this happened. I was like, well, it's right there on the screen. Just because.
And we will have to talk about the ending, but I guess we better talk more about the plot. We're jumping ahead.
Yeah. So basically what we've got.
Simple film.
Right. What we've got basically is it starts out as kind of a silly romance that was very popular at the time. You got Tippy, who was what was her name in the movie?
Melanie Daniels.
Melanie Daniels. Yes, that's right. So Melanie, she is kind of a prankster, you know, and she's also, you know, spoiled rich, and because of Daddy, who I believe owned a magazine or a newspaper.
A newspaper, I think.
Co-owner of the newspaper, yeah.
So anyway, she's heading into, and she also does a lot of good deeds. She happens to be going into a pet shop because she had ordered a Mina bird for someone for like a charity.
Her aunt, I think.
Yeah. And she spots this guy as he comes in, and he sees her, and he asks her, you know, Miss, can you help me? So she pretends like she works there. Come to find out, he recognized her from another prank she had pulled that had landed her in court, and he's a lawyer, and he recognized her from that. So he was going to teach her a lesson. And to me, the whole thing, Karen,
it was weak.
Karen, how'd you feel about that? Did you really enjoy that aspect of it?
Well, I was lost a little bit at first because I didn't quite know what the situation was between the two of them, and so
a little convoluted.
It was a bit confusing, and then I thought she was kind of stalkerish, the way that she gets those orders those lovebirds that he came into the store for his sister's birthday, Kathy or Alice, depending on which scene you're talking about. Yeah, and so I thought it was stalkerish the way she traveled to Bodega Bay, depending on how you want to pronounce it, to track him down. Well, she originally goes to his apartment, and the neighbor who's watching her very suspiciously. I don't know if he's recognized her maybe from the newspapers, being a socialite splashed across the papers. But so anyway, she goes and tracks him down, and she's just very diligent about it, and I thought we wouldn't look too kindly upon a guy doing that to a woman, and I thought it was a bit stalkerish and obsessive. But that was how we get to the bird story, so I guess it was necessary.
So this movie was it's based on, it's based on a lot of things, but it's based partly on the Daphne du Maurier story. But the screenplay is written by Evan Hunter, and Evan Hunter is probably known to people better as Ed McBain. He does all these crime novels. I got one of my really good friends is reading through the 87th Precinct.
Well, here's the cover of the short story here.
Nice.
Originally from The Apple Tree and Other Stories.
Right.
Oh,
but
it's a 1952. Short story, not a novel, right? It's just
it's a short story, and apparently she wasn't very happy with the way that it came out because she'd said it in, I think, Cornwall in England,
Yeah.
the story, and yet it ended up being filmed on the Bay Area, California. So yeah, I don't know how she felt about the rest of it, but the scriptwriter did change the plot.
Yeah. I think it is a thin, it's like Hitchcock is famous for suspense, right? And there's a lot of suspenseful scenes in the film, but it's not a very complicated plot.
Later on.
Excuse me. Birds are like randomly attacking people. That's the plot. Like, my son was mad because they never really quite explained why the birds were attacking. And I told him, I said, well, it's kind of like, Night of the Living Dead. They sort of give you an explanation, but they never really break it down clearly and define for sure, here's why things are happening the way they are.
Well,
I saw real similarity between those two films as well.
Yeah.
But let's talk about some of those theories then. Why do the birds attack? Because I think that they give you, and it's unintended again, but crumbs along the way as to what could potentially be going on in that diner scene that you referenced earlier, Blake. There's a woman there with her 2 kids, and you hear the server go to the kitchen and say 3 fried chickens. Yeah, and so you think, oh, okay, perhaps these are the birds are attacking
because of the way that,
attacking humankind because of the way that they've been treated. KFC, that kind of thing. But, which would have been around then too, I guess.
Yeah, it's in the right era. Yeah, there's plenty of commentary about how that people are the real problem. But yet I wouldn't call it's not a liberal, bleeding heart kind of movie either.
More of a bleeding
No, it's
bird.
definitely of its time. But Matt, you said that there was another theory that was out there about all of the town members and their secrets.
Yeah, it came out years later in an autobiography, the scriptwriter. And he said that it was because everybody had a deep, dark secret that they were ashamed or feeling guilty about. And the birds were coming to exact the justice.
That's like an EC Comics type.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So
exactly.
Oh, yeah, just to that area. And I think just in talking about the ending, when they're talking about these attacks, it seems like they're taking place at Bodega Bay, but also in Santa Rosa and Sebastopol. And one of the original endings was that they were going to have the birds, crows, sitting on the Golden Gate Bridge as they drive across.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Yeah, I think that would have been a cool thing to see, but for financial reasons, it was just too expensive for them to pull off. But I think that would have been a lot creepier, because that would have suggested that it was something that was spreading around the Bay Area and then around California and then around the country. But yeah, certainly the way it ends is you do wonder what's going to happen next, though, and you think, oh, well, the people in the town are in danger.
There's no way a modern telling of this would leave it only happening in that area. That, like, we would be, if they drove away, we'd hear the AM radio. It's like, reports are coming in from New York. It's like,
yes,
it would have been everywhere. So like,
that would have been good. But I still don't mind just having a kind of a cliffhanger, and you wonder what's going to happen. And sometimes coming up with something yourself and product of your own imagination can be better than what they might come up with.
Well, it did have a good ripped from the headlines kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
That they even addressed in the movie.
You've frozen, Matt.
It's cool.
Man.
It's like he's speaking with his bird mind. It's really neat.
Yeah, ventriloquist.
Well, let me ask you this. If I share this, can you guys see it?
Yes.
Yep.
So there was this. And while you guys are looking at this for a moment, I'm going to reset my camera.
Where were we?
Well, I had I was talking about ripped from the headlines. I don't know what you guys
ripped from the headlines. That's it. You got it. There you go.
So, and that's the reason that I had put this in here.
So ripped from the headlines, and they literally talk about that case in the diner scene, which I was surprised. Well,
apparently they were filming when this occurred, and Hitchcock was particularly interested in it. It really tied in nicely with the movie and the plot. And so, yeah, he, I think, got in contact with the newspapers to try and find out more about the story, to incorporate aspects of that into the film as he did. So I think that was a fun kind of life imitating art, art imitating life bit of the film. But yeah, that is the, I guess, one of the true stories behind this.
Yeah, in that particular case, it was the little community of what was it?
It was
Bodega Bay.
Capitola in
Capitola,
Monterey
thank you.
Bay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it had and they talked about I think they named it as a different location in the diner scene, but the
I think they said Santa Cruz in the.
they
in
said
the
Santa
movie.
Cruz. They did, and they talked about the fog confusing the birds, but that's not what happened.
Right.
And that was the
Mhm.
original idea, was maybe that the birds got lost in the fog, but it turns out birds are pretty good in fog. They're okay. What was
We had the ornithologist in the diner scene as well, and
Yeah.
she was kind of poo-pooing that theory, and I thought she really looked like Gertrude Stein.
She did. She did. She wasn't Gertrude Stein the one who's Alice B.
Yes,
Focus,
yeah.
or her lover's
Lover, yeah.
famous pot brownie recipe. So
That's right, yes.
yeah.
Hashish brownies and it's just
Nice.
going somewhere else, but yeah.
Oh yeah, anyway,
The
but yeah,
feminist,
she
early
did.
feminist.
And she also, after, like, in that scene, it was really kind of powerful, where everybody was hiding in that little hallway, and you see all the people who were poo-pooing it are suddenly like, well, I ain't saying nothing. And she wouldn't even turn around and make eye contact with them anymore after she saw what had happened. Like, she was so ashamed or embarrassed by the whole thing. It was
Well, yeah, and that's when they were attacking Melanie and thinking somehow she'd brought it with her.
Yeah, that was
or that maybe the lovebirds had brought it over to the bay or something. And I guess that was another theory about what happened.
Did you love the scene where she's driving up there and she's driving so fast that the lovebirds are going?
I did.
Yeah.
We laughed and we laughed about
they
that.
They look very tacky, mechanical.
They did.
But,
and Sophie wanted to know, are those real birds? Is that really happening? I'm like, she's not even in a real, I mean, she's not even really driving. That's all props.
It could have been her foot, though.
I was like, can I throw out in the scene they talked about the fog? That's not what really happened in the real case. It was the birds had eaten shellfish, which was contaminated by an algae bloom with a biotoxin called domoic acid. And this is pretty wild stuff. I think it was 1987. It was 87.
You call it really wild stuff, like you've tried it, man.
No. It's just it reminds me of the same way that ergot poisoning is behind,
werewolf transformation.
All kinds of things where people in communities who they get ergot, which is a fungus.
It was on bread, I think.
Yeah, and it can make you we can kill you, but it can also make you have wild, trippy hallucinations. In fact, LSD is derived from ergot. But
I think that's one of the theories behind the witch craze, isn't it? The witch trials.
There's so many, but that is one of them for sure. But I was going to say the domoic acid killed 4 people in 1987. And after that, they instituted or implemented national shellfish testing, and we've had 0 deaths from shellfish since then. So just another one of those.
I didn't mean to laugh.
What has the government done to you or for you? Well, regulations can actually save lives. So.
I thought you were going to say they instituted National Shellfish Day. And so I wasn't. My mind went one way, and your speech went the other.
So weren't there several of these bird attacks, though? There wasn't only the one in 1961, but I think that there were some subsequent ones where the birds had eaten anchovies that were infected with the same
you gotta watch
chemical
out for those contaminated pizzas.
Yeah, there's been a few, but oddly enough, there haven't been many lately. So that and that might be because of Blake's comment about how the government actually doesn't always suck.
Well, also bird flu has wiped out a lot of birds. So
yeah,
there's whatever's going on around with the bird flu is killing a lot of birds right now.
Oh, yeah, and raising the prices of eggs.
I call that hinflation.
Yes, you do.
So did you notice in this, there's a couple of great scenes that I thought were, one was just hysterical to me. It seemed like it was Hitchcock playing a joke of some kind. It's when things start exploding from the gas pump leaking and all that kind of stuff. If you look at the screen flashes to Tippy when the first explosion happens, and she goes, and then it flashes to the next explosion, and she goes, and then it flashes to the next explosion. She goes,
yeah,
and it flashes to the next one. She goes, and I laughed. I really laughed hard because it just seemed like that was a Saturday Night Live joke, you know.
Well, I think it really shows his obsession with her too, if we want to get into that, because as you say, there are lots of really funny scenes. I think the diner scene is funny, and there's the guy talking about the end of the world, and but there's some really violent scenes too. So it seems like they filmed the birds in different ways. They had mechanical birds in some scenes, and I think that cost about $200,000, which would have been a hell of a lot in the day. But they'd also used some live birds that they'd captured from, it's like a trash bin or something.
They
somewhere
from a garbage dump. Yeah, they got
Yeah.
the seagulls, and they captured and trained them. And I find that to be very bizarre, but probably not something that would be very ethical today to do. But
oh yeah, I think
and capture something and train it.
Filming of that.
Well, that and having more than one girlfriend is also bad taste. So.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, I heard where you were kind of going there.
Oh yeah, I've just got a few quotes I wanted
Karen?
to read out. So
okay, I shouldn't jump into the girl just yet.
The real monster was the director all along.
yeah.
And he would have gotten away with it too if it hadn't been for the.
Well, do you want me to talk about it now? I mean, I've kind of touched upon it.
Sure, but it's completely up to you.
Yeah,
let's touch on it appropriately.
Well, yeah. So there's a lot of controversy surrounding the movie, in particular Alfred Hitchcock and his treatment of Tippi Hedren. So Matt, you were talking about her, and I mean, she is really in just about every shot. She is the focal point for the entire film, and I think you get a kind of sense that the director producer had a crush on her or something. And it doesn't, I think there are a couple of films out too about him and his relationship with her, some which throw a positive slant on it and others which show him in more of an abusive light. Excuse me. Let me have some water. Sorry, I'm getting your cough, Matt.
Sure. Yeah, it's all mine. Don't take it.
So, yeah, their relationship during the filming of The Birds just seemed like it was very dysfunctional. And Hedren's maintained that there were several incidents where Hitchcock acted inappropriately towards her. And the cast and crew, including Rod Taylor, said that he was obsessive about her. And at one point she said he grabbed her and put his hands on her, and that it was sexual, and that she had to continually reject his advances. And I think that she was tied in with him for a number of films. So it wasn't just The Birds, but a few other movies that he did. And
she did multiple ones,
but she talked about the abuse that she experienced in the movie, in particular that final scene where she's attacked by the birds. And she says that she endured 5 days of filming where handlers hurled ravens, doves, and a few pigeons at her. And she said it was brutal and ugly and relentless. So she wrote about this in her memoir. And apparently Cary Grant visited the scene at one point because he was one of Hitchcock's favorite leading men. And he happened to be visiting the set one day, and he said, "You're the bravest woman I've ever seen." But a lot of people did come out against him. And apparently they originally were going to attach mechanical birds to her for the final scene, but instead on the day, they're not working, so we're going to have to use live birds. And they were truly pecking at her, and she was covered in bruises and cuts, and had to take a couple of days off. Hitchcock didn't want her to take any time off, but she, I think, went to hospital for a couple of days just to rest. And
Yeah, and that was the thing
recuperate from all the trauma.
The doctor recommended that she have about a week off, and Hitchcock was very against that. And the doctor said, well, are you trying to kill her? And I guess in the movie, but and in real life. So this is based on a true story.
I think showing his obsession of her, for sure.
Stalkery kind of behavior, and it wasn't just her either. Other actresses, he had a type. He definitely had a type.
He did
that he liked, and
to abuse,
kind of to abuse and to manipulate. And I'm sure he justified it in his head, but yeah, it seems like he has a real dark side, and I think that's tragic that's the case. And it's one of those things where it's always, every time you look into auteurs or people who are creative, you're going to find people who are super creative and respected for their work, and are just terrible everywhere else in their life.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Lots of musicians and artists. Yeah.
It's like, so I don't know if Hitchcock is especially horrible, but you got to call it when it happens, So
yeah.
Oh yeah, I think there are several narratives going, but I think that a lot of people tried to rewrite history when it comes to him, and that he loved his wife and he didn't do anything. But I think that there's plenty of evidence to the contrary.
Yeah. Sorry, no, I don't buy it. I'm not buying it.
I'm going to cough too. So I don't know where you want to go with this, because I don't really have much more to say about it. I mean, there's some.
I do.
Okay.
I have a few more things to say. I mean, one of the things that I think is interesting is the scene where she's in the phone booth.
Mm-hmm.
She's in a phone booth, and she doesn't bother to actually try to call for help. She's just in there, and there it is. Well, and of course Saturday Night Live was kind enough to actually touch on this, and this is I think that he makes a great point.
Okay, that's pretty funny.
But no, they had some really funny things, and I love the way the gull is coming up behind her on the left there, and looking. That's just great.
I think there were some comical scenes.
One of the birds found a glass cutter. Okay, that's good.
I think there were some comical scenes in the movie where you had Mitch Brenner when they were, what's the term that you use for kind of fortifying the house? What's the term?
Boarding up the windows and stuff.
Yeah, they were boarding up the house and everything. And when that final attack started, and there's one of them trying to come through the window, and he's holding on to it, and it just looked very fake, and he's just kind of wrestling with it. And
it looks like he wants it to look like it's coming in at him, but in reality he's pulling it in. That was like Bela Lugosi wrestling an octopus.
Exactly. The school teacher, she had a room to rent, and so when Rod Taylor was putting all the planks up around the windows, my son said, I thought the teacher was the one with the boarding house. And I was like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
It's in the genes. It's in the genes.
Takes after you. Yeah. And that was, I don't know, further to that idea that there were these secrets. Everyone in the town had a secret. It still seemed like there was something weird going on between Mitch Brenner, the lawyer, and the school teacher, and the mother being just very overly protective, and him being a mama's boy kind of thing.
Her being an old hen, her being there's all these different bird related.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a coincidence, is what I'm saying. If you think there's bird jokes and I'm being terrible, I'm saying that I think the writers put those in there on purpose.
I think so. Yeah. They were capitalizing on it.
But my favorite was, there's a moment when, oh my God, it was like the only moment in the whole film where I thought, this is an MST3K moment. She comes off the little boat, and she's been attacked by a seagull.
With the tomato sauce, ketchup on her face.
Mitch pulls her back in to like safety, and they get some basic first aid kit stuff, And she's like, "What are you about to do?" He's like, "I'm gonna put some peroxide on your head." And I was like, which she should be very familiar
with. She's already had some.
This is not the first time peroxide's touched that head, I promise you. So.
Peroxide and lemon juice all the way. No, I agree. I agree. No, the thing is I have personally experienced these kind of bird attacks myself. I used to work, and the thing is that this may be the reason why, as I used to work for the government.
I thought you were going to say a talent agency. A talent agency.
No, you have to have talent before you work for a talent agency. So I worked for the National Renewable Energy Labs. And the way the campus was set up is there were lots of buildings in different areas that you had to walk in between to get to, as I would go from, thing to thing that I was addressing. And in the wintertime, it was a bummer because things tended to be uncomfortable, I guess you could say. Here's a shot of me walking from one building to another. And
it's like I'm there.
Yeah.
Feel the cold.
Kind of in your face. But then when springtime came, they had to put up these signs, proceed with caution.
There's some angry birds.
Angry birds overhead may dive towards you. And that bird right there, those talons that he or she's got hanging there, they did pierce my scalp.
Wow.
It
hurt.
Well,
I will have to add to this that for those Australians watching, I'm sure they're thinking of magpies, and they do like to attack. There are some times of year where they're protecting their young, and a lot of people in Australia have clotheslines. People here tend to throw their wet clothes into dryers, but we usually hang them on lines. And at some times of the year, you can't go out and near the clothesline because the magpies will swoop in on you. And my mother's been attacked. She had to go and see an eye specialist because of that. And they can get very aggressive. And I think other breeds as well. But in the movie, they had, I think, seagulls and sparrows and crows. And Matt made a good point about that too, as we were watching, that they often sounded like cats. It didn't sound like birds squawking.
The mechanical sounds of these birds.
Electronics. Yeah.
And it's in fact, I believe I have a picture of the bird sound making device here. And it was absolutely bizarre because there were sometimes it was like chirp chirp chirp, and other times it was like
it was very weird and mechanical. It reminded me of the some of the strange noises you hear in the woods in the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't have a soundtrack in the film. He just
Did you notice
had these bird sounds?
The bird sounds, the weird noises, and they had a note in the credits thanking the consulting with Bernard Herrmann, who normally does several of Hitchcock's soundtracks,
right?
And also later worked with Q the Winged Serpent. Help me, Matt, the director. He did a bunch of movies. Oh, come on, the stuff. Q the Winged Serpent.
It's funny because the first thing that comes to my mind is Roger Corman, and that's
it's not Roger.
Not Roger Corman.
It's
Okay.
Well,
okay.
Don't ask me. And I can't think of his name. Okay, I'm
let's
look
it up.
Cut this out, and you just tippy type, and then suddenly be like, oh, it just came to my
Larry
Cohen.
Larry Cohen. I'm my old brain. Larry Cohen.
Larry Cohen.
Love Larry Cohen.
Yeah.
Anyway, Larry Cohen later worked with Bernard Herrmann and kept him in business in his dotage, which I love.
That is quite a machine, though. Look at it.
It is. It's very cool. Very
analog, it looks like something you'd communicate with the dead with.
That's fantastic.
Yes, telephone to the dead.
Piano to the dead.
Normally we do like those sort of skeptical spoilers here, and Joe Nickel looked into this case, the real bird case, and
it was owls.
It turned out it was Mothman. It was
People
Mothman
are laughing.
The whole time.
It was Mothman. Yeah,
it's like, wasn't birds at all. Aliens,
Otters, yeah.
Mothman.
Well, the truth is we, you know, we as humans, we are constantly expanding our sort of area. And as we do that, we are encroaching on these birds when they're nesting and you know, laying eggs and things like that. So it is a little bit of a not a big surprise when people do get attacked. And this can happen a lot of things. I mean, we automatically also as humans get creeped out whenever birds sort of or any animal starts amassing. Like when they were getting on that jungle gym, you know, there was just a couple, but
that was creepy. It was an infestation at that point.
Yeah,
that's a perfect word.
Too many of them.
That is a perfect word. Anytime, you know, there's groupings like that, we think of an infestation. Now, ladybugs are adorable until they do this.
Oh, I don't know if I needed to see that.
Yeah, see, and that's a big.
They look moist. Are they in ladybug juice?
We won't talk about that, but then we got locusts, and that's a big terrifying thing.
I guess it makes it sound kind of biblical, like it's a plague of something.
Right.
Yeah, we need a content note for this one. We need some kind of warning. People are not going to see these.
Trigger warning.
Too late.
But yeah, I mean, these huntsmen, they were trying to basically save themselves from the floods that were happening in Australia at the time. But then we had the great, you know, buffalo stampedes. There's a mesa over on the western slope of Colorado that's called Grand Mesa, but it was always known before that as Thunder Mountain because of the stampedes sounded like thunder. And then we've got the worst stampede of all.
Oh yeah,
the most dangerous and the one that has claimed more lives recently than any other stampede is a Black Friday stampede.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it is an amazing thing how we humans can be so.
Which also is tied to the burbs. Yeah.
Yes.
Burbs again, yeah. Oh, it all comes full circle.
Absolutely. So, you know, bottom line here, what do we think of the birds?
Blake, you want to go first?
Okay, so this movie, I saw it when I was a kid and it scared me. As an adult, I found there's some really awesomely constructed suspense moments in it. But from end to end, I found that there was too many places where the actors were like, it's supposed to be terrifying, like Tippi Hedren in the little girl's bedroom, and instead I'm like, did she forget how doors work? Like, why can't she operate this door? And it's like it just started to stretched my
and her
credulity.
voice.
Yeah,
she could have screamed.
There was so much going on.
So, muttered Mitch at one point, but it was kind of a whisper.
I felt like too contrived. I liked it, but it was too contrived. And
and I can see that. I think that I think that part of that is just that it's dated. It's an older film. I think for a 1963 flick, though, it's pretty good. And some scenes with the birds, you could tell that the birds were kind of superimposed over the scene. And then other times, I thought it was quite realistic. And I guess it was because they were throwing birds at Tippi Hedren. So I thought that I enjoyed the movie. I mean, that was the first time I'd seen it. I thought it just took too long to really get into the meat of the movie.
It was 2 hours long. It could have been 90. I think 90 minutes.
No. You know what was great is, you know, we got a hold of you, Blake, and said, no, we got a hold of this guy that we know.
Oh yeah, you found a guy. We found
a guy so we could watch the movie. And it wasn't working. So we found on YouTube a 20-minute long version of the movie.
That sounds better.
It was great. It was great. I mean, there was a couple of things.
The key points in the story. I mean, once I watched that, I felt like I had a good grip on the plot.
Well, when she yells at him, though, no, Mr. Brenner, I like to jump into fountains naked. It was like, what did we miss
here?
There's
no context.
But other than that, it was great. Just 20 minutes and we had the whole movie. So we watched the entire thing the next night. So
do you remember Ang Lee's version of the Hulk?
Yes.
Way too long. I used my little magic scissors and cut that down to like a 23-minute, was just all Hulk. It was just all Hulk.
All Hulk, and still had a cameo by Lou Ferrigno and Stan
Lee. It was great. It was great. Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you think of the film, man?
I enjoyed it. I have to agree that
I enjoyed half of it.
It had its weirdness. The 20-minute version, top notch. The editing was great.
It was, yeah. It really told the story, except for the fountain bit.
Yeah, the fountain bit kind of confused me. But no, I did enjoy it more than I thought I was going to, even. But
me too.
But it was also less eventful than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Well, that opening 25 minutes where we're like, this is a weird setup for her to come to this town. That felt so much like the setup for a Screwball Comedy that just didn't pan out. Like, it's like it could, like, the sort of awkward big city girl goes to the small coastal town and hilarity ensues. There's the ex-girlfriend, there's the weird characters in town. I mean, it totally was set up to be a Screwball Comedy.
But what it reminds me of,
From Dusk Till Dawn.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say just that
Screwball
that kind
Comedy.
That switch is flipped and suddenly
tonal change. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that was strange. But as Matt said earlier, apparently there were a lot of those Screwball comedies around that time. That was kind of a popular thing. So maybe he was just kind of trying to lure people in with that and to care about the characters before they all got attacked.
North by Northwest, there's some very zany sort of Screwball Comedy stuff, and then it turns into a really tense thriller. Same kind of deal where you've got your main character there who seems a little bit out of the water, like a little bit like just this could be fun, and it's not as fun. I mean, it's good. It's just not as hilarious. So
right.
Well, I'm glad I watched it anyway. It is a classic film, and finally got around to seeing it for this, and I enjoyed parts of it.
I think it's always good to go back and sort of re-watch or watch for the first time, however, maybe old Hitchcock movies.
Yeah, we despite
Psycho
his
next.
Problematic history, the work of Alfred Hitch Penis is to be recommended.
Edit that bit out.
Oh, sorry, did I say Hitch? I meant Hitchcock. Sorry.
Well, I don't know if you've got a picture of this, but just to kind of end things, I think it's interesting that there was a Barbie doll that was released.
Oh, yes, and I will have that. Yes,
you can put in a picture Barbie of that, doll. and I thought it was quite lifelike.
Put a shrimp on it.
Okay.
Perfect.
But, I think that's it. Anything else we want to say?
Well, I want to say this again. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And do the whole Patreon thing for us. I mean, we really
leave a comment below and suggest other movies you'd like us to watch and talk about.
And tell us what you thought was the best part of the movie. It was fun. It was fun for me. I almost forgot. What this movie really needed was a real hero, and it turns out that we got that hero many years later, and it was on March 30th.
Oh,
because Fabio stepped up.
Yeah, I can't believe you forgot this.
With his face. I'll put in pictures, but that was
he was fighting back.
Yeah, he came back and took care of us, and so on the anniversary of that moment, I want to have that. And actually, what I heard there is that the bird never actually hit his face. It was there was a camera,
broke his nose,
like kind of a GoPro kind of thing, but it was much bigger at that time. Sitting there in front, and the goose hit the camera, and that part of that flew off and caught him right across the bridge of the nose. But I don't know about that, because if you look at the picture, and we have an artist rendition here, and then we also have the real photo, it shows that the people around him are covered in blood as well. So
I don't think the goose made it.
The goose did die, yes.
Yeah, poor thing.
And he had it coming, from what we see in this movie.
Could you imagine if that had been a flock?
Geese are mean. Geese are mean, and they have these giant
on the ground teeth. And in the air.
And they have teeth on their tongue and stuff, and they're weird.
This is true.
Like cats.
I was jogging. This would have been like 2000. 2018 or 2019 when I was on a fitness kick.
Do you have any photos of you jogging?
But
Because
I
I
was
can put
jogging
them
around
up.
the park, and I was feeling good, man. I was like, I'm booking it down the road. And I thought, look at that in the big empty field in the center of the park. I saw a bunch of geese, and I was like, I could catch those geese. And I ran after that flock of geese, and I learned two things really quickly. One, that like the idiom, a wild goose chase, apt. They are hard to catch. Second, slick as goose poop, also apt. Yeah, I slid across that thing like an ice skater. I got out in the middle of the field, and suddenly the goose all flew away, the geese flew away, and I just slid across on this giant hidden pond of goose poo.
How old were you? Because our son learned that lesson at about 4.
Well, good for him. I was not very young. I was like 48.
20 something, yeah.
I mean, I'd heard it all my life, but I'd never been on a wild goose chase, nor had I experienced the I don't know what you call it.
There you go.
The low viscosity,
Yes. And had it been the right time of year, you would have also found out what happens when they turn on you.
Yeah.
Because man, they are mean.
They get aggressive.
I've been chased by more than one goose.
Also, is that the origin of a hissy fit? I think is maybe.
Yeah. They do that.
I don't know. I have to look into that.
But you really
wind things up, I think.
Yeah, but when they turn on you, I gotta say this because this is just true. When they turn on you, that's when you discover just how much bigger than a duck they are.
They are big. They are big.
They
birds.
are very large.
Yeah. So and they have magnetite in their nose, so they can
find directions.
Yeah. I did want to talk more about how these birds do this kind of stuff, but it's out there on enough videos, you can look it up. So I guess the next thing is
diverting too much.
Resuscitate.
So let's say goodbye for this episode.
Goodbye.
And we look forward to seeing all of you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.